What have you been doing?
Good, man. Staying busy and, you know, uh, since the departure from World Gym, just getting back into the consulting world and, you know, trying to make a difference where I can and keep myself out of trouble.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? I just thought it would be really cool to chat with you, just because we have similar time in the game, and I really like how you were with kind of like this legacy brand and the transition. The whole goal with what I'm trying to do, and I think it's really similar to what you're trying to do. Is when you've been in this game long enough, each of us individually go through different cycles of kind of what our ambitions are, or what we're trying to achieve. And a lot of what I've been seeing coming from you lately really has resonated with me in terms of really a giving of self, a service, trying to reach out, trying to help people. You've been chatting with a lot of people, giving ideas, and I'm just curious because it was difficult for me for my transition out from something that I really cared about. I started, and I was actually rereading your departure post again, and there was a lot of there's a good post, man. There's a lot
Thanks.
of love
Yeah,
there.
it's true. There was. I still have a lot of love. I love the brand. I love the people. The franchisees, what we stood for, what we did. Nothing bad to say at all.
Yeah,
And certainly wished them well. But um, yeah, there's a lot of emotion there for sure.
yeah. What was interesting is when I read it, I almost felt it because I was going through a similar thing. For me, it was since last summer, and just kind of adapting and going through these phases. And I'm just curious how was that transition for you? How difficult was it? Um, and how did you kind of get to where you're at now, moving forward, being really active, reaching out to people, really engaging? How was that
Yeah.
process?
Well, obviously being in the industry for so long, right, and having a good reputation and a good network made that transition a lot easier than maybe some people might have if they have less time. Or, for me, I've had my consulting company for a long time. That's how I got to World Gym. So being able to have a fallback right away was a benefit to me that a lot of people unfortunately don't have, and so obviously waking up on that Monday morning and not having 18 Zoom calls and seeing my team and having some of those things was a shock to the system, and it was a little bit different. But I was able to settle back in pretty quickly to my consulting company, and I had a lot of support from the industry, which I really I got emotional with that. To see the response from the post that you mentioned. I mean, the outpouring of love and support and shock and awe from a lot of people was more than I ever anticipated. I mean, I certainly didn't do it for that reason, but just to let others know I wasn't at that post anymore, or that position anymore, and to have the calls from Club Industry and Club Solutions and all colleagues and industry peers and people, that definitely choked me up, and to me it meant that people valued and appreciated what I was doing, and that meant something to me, and so
Yeah,
being able to it was a little easier to get up on that Monday morning, knowing that I impacted lives in a way that I didn't realize I did. And being able to settle back into my consulting business and company has been a nice thing, and picking business back up real quick. And it's good to see. So,
yeah.
but
Where
I
was
just,
that kind of that awareness about relationship building and connection? Because it's really cliche, right? We talk about it all the time with clients, with people that we work with, create a community. But you walk that out and you saw the outpouring. What do you attribute that to in terms of your kind of your? And I know you talk about it a lot, your mindset, your philosophy, your attitude.
yeah.
But relationships over the course of, I think you're on year 28, 29.
20 what years in the business or
Yeah, yeah.
29 years old? I'm 29 years
Yeah,
old. Can't
yeah.
you tell?
I'm
No,
if you're 29, I'm 28. I get it.
exactly. Yeah, it's going into year 28,
Yeah. You know,
27.
what do you attribute your attention to that detail, those relationships? Is it the way you're brought up? Is it a mentor, a coach? Because I mean, there were really a lot of sweet and great things that were said, and so you clearly, you know, with your actions, created these relationships.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. Obviously the way we were brought up, we were learned to treat people with respect and dignity. It didn't matter what walk of life they were from or what their background was. It didn't matter, right? And sir, ma'am, yes, thank you, please, hold the door. And I always just grew up, and as I got older, just valued the benefit of people. And fundamentally, at the end of the day, relationships and reputation are everything. And how you treat people ultimately is how people remember you. You can do all the greatest stuff in the world, but if you were a jerk, or if you were known as a dictator, or if you had that bad reputation for treating others or saying disparaging things to others, what are people going to remember you for? It's their interactions with you. And eventually when my time comes and I'm put in the ground and there's that start date and there's that end date and there's that dash in between, I want people to remember that the dash in between, I made an impact in their lives in some way or another. I left this place better than I found it. And you know it's all about how you treat people, and I do believe that. I believe that in every company, organization I've ever worked for. Treat my team great, empower them, teach them, train them, build them up, invest in them. Ultimately, they take care of your customers. Your customers pay your bills, so you got to treat them with respect. And I've been screwed by people in business, um, but I don't hold grudges. I move on. I can still shake their hand, look them in the eye, have a conversation. Sometimes it's really hard to do that. There's maybe only one or two people in 28 years that I would have a really difficult time doing that with. Um, but I
Yeah,
do
no,
my
I
best
get
to
it.
take the high road. I mean, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I tell it like it is. I'm very forward. I'm very honest. But I care. I care a lot.
Yeah,
And
and
sometimes, you can say, "Oh, you care too much." Maybe I do, but I don't think I'd have it any other way.
yeah, you know, I'm starting up again, and just like you, and a thing that's around our new company is, you know, business is personal. It's the relationship, and let's not make it cliche, right? And
Yeah.
I'm curious, where did you grow up? Where did all of these values come from? Like, what's your origin story, my man?
Oh, the Wolverine origin story.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
you gonna show the claws? No, you don't need to
yeah.
show them.
Um, I have the marks on the wall.
Yeah, we
No,
all do.
the Jarrod story. So, South Philadelphia, born and raised. So kind of like the Fresh Prince
Oh,
was
I
West
had the song.
Philadelphia, right? So yeah.
Anyone
So
watching
I'll go
that?
South Philadelphia. No,
Yep.
yeah, I was South Philly, literally a couple blocks down the street from all the Philadelphia sports team stadiums. Um, and when my younger brother, I'm the middle of three. So, and we're all J names. So, my parents, Jim and Joanna, my brother Jason, myself, Jared, and my younger brother Justin. We're all pretty close in age too. So we wound up leaving South Philadelphia, a little row home street, when I was probably 2 or 3 years old, and moved to South Jersey. So, if you know anything about the Philadelphia area, Philadelphia, especially South Philadelphia, that area, South Jersey, anything from, like, let's say Burlington County south is considered Philadelphia, and northern Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware. It's all kind of like that Philadelphia suburb
Yeah.
area, because you're within a shot of Philly, 15, 20 minutes. And so we moved to South Philly. That's where I wound up going to school, and graduated high school, went to tech school there. And then after I graduated high school, um, my senior year, my dad got diagnosed with cancer, and uh, that was a pretty tough year. And when I graduated high school that summer, we wound up moving back into Pennsylvania. So just in a Philadelphia suburb in Jenkintown. So my parents still live there to this day. He's still alive, which is great because
That's
he's
awesome.
he's a fighter and whatnot. Um, But yeah, then from there, my career just kind of took me around. I Philadelphia main line, and I'm down here in northern Delaware now, just because cost of living, it's cheaper. Your
Yeah.
dollar goes a lot further, so no sales tax, property tax is a lot lower, so cost of living is better to be here. But been around the whole Philadelphia area my whole life.
Yeah. And I'm curious, how old were you when and that's awesome. He's still around. How old were you when your pop had cancer?
So it was my senior year in high school. So what was I, 16, 17,
And
somewhere in there?
I asked because I had cancer in 2016. I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I have two
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
non-Hodgkin's
That's
lymphoma.
what my dad had. Mhm.
Yeah, so I went 6 chemo rounds, 25 radiation rounds, and how you think about what your dad went through. I sometimes think about what my son thinks, and so I'm kind of curious from your
Yeah.
perspective. You were older. Like, what did you draw from that? You mentioned right away that he's a fighter. Like, what
Yeah.
qualities of that have stuck with you? Because I wonder about that with my kids. What will they say?
Great question. So the story goes, it was the week before Christmas, my senior year in high school. It was like a couple days. It was like a day before our winter break, senior year of high school. And I came home. Now my dad was a union commercial roofer, Philadelphia Roofers Union. That's a tough organization, tough job. I mean, very physical, up 3, 4 in the morning, long days on a roof, scalding heat,
Yeah,
freezing cold, really rough job. And the guy was tough as nails. And I was walking out the front doors. He came home from work that day, and he didn't look good at all. And he just kind of like, he's like, Jarrod, I don't feel good. And he just kind of fell towards me, and I was like, I didn't even call the ambulance. Like, I just threw him in the car and away we went.
yeah.
Like something's wrong. And that's when we found out he had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. His spleen was the size of a small football, apparently.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. My
and
tumor
and
was right here, and it was the size of double the size of a softball. It's
yeah,
wild.
it's amazing how you can see these things grow inside your body to these sizes, and that really scared me because all I knew about my dad and my grandfather. I mean, my grandfather, his hands were huge. I mean, these guys were tough dudes, old school tough guys. And to see my dad in that vulnerable position, to be honest with you, it freaked me out. Um, I think it freaked everybody out. And we had a great support system, family, and everything around that. And he battled. He did an oral chemo. He didn't have to do the radiation at the time, and he did a lot of natural things too. That's when he really started. He was always into lifting, working out, and
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. But that's when he started looking into more natural things, and he did some things and really helped him. And he battled for a while and got over it. I mean, he was able to go back to work and keep that physical job for many, many years. Just recently prior to COVID, we had some scares where it kind of came back and came back pretty aggressively to the point where um, nobody knew what the heck was going on. And said to the doctor, I'm like, listen, this guy had cancer. You need to check him. He was complaining about his back and his pain to the point where they found it was super aggressive and wound up having to do, stem cell replacement.
Oh wow.
Now, at the same time, this guy was in the hospital. He just had back surgery for fuse his spine, and he wound up having that, going through some chemo and then stem cell to get rid of that, and then shoulder replacement surgeries, and he's back on the roof part time helping my brother in his construction company, and
Wow.
yeah, man, you can't stop him.
So
Just can't
it's like
stop.
you had a opportunity to see grit and tenacity modeled
Yeah,
for you. And I'm curious.
but a
As,
lot of love too. Like that was
yeah.
the thing. Not just from him appreciating his family and what he had, but from our extended family and friends who really rallied. And my dad, as much as was the tough Italian roofer guy, that kind of thing. He was a walking heart, and
Yeah. I like that.
he wore his emotions like that too. He loved his family, he loved what he did. And, you know, as much as sometimes I was scared to death of him as a kid, you know, I really loved him and appreciated him. And still to this day, to see a guy that was that tough to could have those moments of vulnerability and not and be okay with it, you
Yeah, it's
know.
that
And,
tension between grit and vulnerability that's really I find super interesting, you know, and how it gives you perspective in different scenarios. How
yeah.
often do you, if at all, well, definitely I know you do, recall on things like that when you're going through a difficult time, like the transition that you had, to be aware that that tension exists, but to acknowledge it, because I think there's this kind of this expectation, and maybe it's changing in this industry. You know, maybe we don't share a lot, and I think that's amazing and humbling that you would share that, and I think that's going to bring a lot of value. But what's your viewpoint on talking about those things and acknowledging, you know, the awareness about mental health? What would you add to that about mindset and about dealing with those tough situations and being vulnerable?
Yeah, listen, I think that at the end of the day, we can talk tough all we want. Oh, you know, motivate, do this, get up, do that. But until you actually go through something, you don't know what it takes, right? There's sympathy and there's empathy. I can sympathize with you, but when you've been through something that that person has been through, you can really empathize with them. And that's a big difference, you know? And I think for a lot of years, people would always say, walk it off, do this, do that. We grew up in that kind of generation, right? You know, doesn't matter, concussions, your bell got rung, you're back in on the next play, you know, like those types of things. And the world has changed. And, you know, I'm benefiting from the fact that I grew up in that age and learned how to deal with difficulties and overcoming obstacles and get back on your feet and do that type of thing. But learning more and more about how important it is to take the time to take care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And I don't think enough people give enough attention to it. And we're still learning as a
Yeah,
human race
yeah,
how to help each other cope with trauma or, you know, like you said, mental health, you know, helping people feel better about their self-esteem, who they are as an individual, regard whatever the diversity is of the population, right? It doesn't really matter. We're humans. We're all impacted by things in similar ways, but can we do better supporting one another?
yeah,
If
and
we're going to
I,
do better supporting one another, we got to do better with ourselves. And I'm the
yep,
foremost culprit of that. I
yep,
For a long time I didn't take care of myself. Like and you know, I'm working, I'm hustling, I'm moving, and you know, and one of the benefits of you know, the transition from World Gym is I had some time. I got really sick right after that. Like I hadn't been that sick in 10 years, and it wasn't COVID or anything like that, but whatever was going around. And I mean, I was on my butt for 2 weeks, and that just allowed me time to reflect and just sit there and do nothing. And I didn't realize how much I needed that. You know, like I I guess it did me good, you know,
yeah. To
to
be
kind
still,
of,
right? To
yeah,
be still. I found, you know, especially going through treatments in 2016, loss, like many people have, of course. That I it really resonates with me what you said about sympathy versus empathy. You know, it's being able to walk in their shoes. And what I've found as I've gotten into this longer and some loss in the last several months, you know, the foundation of it is compassion. To me, that helps me bridge between being sympathetic and empathetic is to be compassionate.
mm,
And I found that if I operate from that as my center, you know, for me and my faith and my family, I'm a lot more patient because I'm my own worst enemy.
yeah,
I've been in this industry 26 years, done a lot of stupid stuff and made poor
mhm,
decisions, you know. And I'm curious, you know, for you and how, you know, this next phase of your life and
mhm.
going back to the consulting that you had that, what are you looking forward to in this phase with what you've learned, the things you went through younger, the challenges and this new perspective, the relationships and the outpouring, what kind of fuel has that given you on this next phase? And where you gonna blast off to?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. I mean, I look at everything as a learning experience, right? I just was recently on a podcast where I talk to people. It's like I win or I learn. There's a lot of learning that goes on in
Yeah,
anybody's life and anybody's career. It's what you do with those experiences. And I'll treasure my experience with World Gym forever. I mean, to be able to carry the torch for them in that position for 2.5 years. I mean, it was an honor and a privilege, and I value it very well. There's a lot of lessons I take from every meeting I had, from every interaction I had, from the franchisees I met with. You learn a lot from every single individual, and you come out stronger on the other side. And I think through all of my experiences in life and in business, um, it helps me be a better person, but it helps me do my job better. There's a lot of things that I've seen and been through that allow me to help club owners and managers and fitness professionals and other business people to navigate the stormy seas of life and business, right? Where I can call upon my own experiences, whether they were wins or learning lessons, and to be able to help them and guide them to maybe not make the same mistakes or evaluate things differently. I didn't make all the best decisions, like you said. I mean, there were things, and I learned from them and I grew from them, and I wouldn't be able to do what I do today if I didn't have those experiences. And I think that that's one of the things that people appreciate with me when they work with me, is that I've been through a lot. I've
yeah,
been in their chair. I've struggled to pay the mortgage or make payroll for people, or keep the lights on, or I've worked the 20-hour days. I mean, I know what it's like.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and so I think people appreciate that about me, and the approach that I bring to all of my projects or companies or employees. And at the same time, I do my best. I'm not perfect at it at all, but to be a true leader, it's to be self-sacrificing, and that's what it is. It's about your people and taking care of your people, and I believe that my experiences have led me to go, they're the most important thing in this whole pie,
Yeah.
right? So make sure you give your attention to these individuals first, and everything else will settle into place.
And
And
what's interesting about that is, there's and you talk about this there in your interactions and that I've seen. There's a mindset, there's an attitude, and I'm curious from your perspective, when you look at trying to solve problems with entrepreneurs, how much of it are the hard skills, tactics, and how much of it is mindset?
it does start with mindset. I think a lot of it is mindset, and I'll tell you why. It's not. You could talk about motivation and having a winning mindset and all this kind of stuff. Let's start with one thing. It's called humility,
Yeah,
right? If you're the most arrogant SOB that there is, or you can't be taught something, or you have a superiority complex, or forget it. Nobody wants to work with you, for you, buy from you, do business with you. It turns people off. And I think that mindset needs to be more of, hey, maybe I'm confident, but I'm not cocky, right? I'm all like, I, yeah, I have a lot of experience, 28 years, whatever it is. I don't know everything. I learn every day, and I like that about this job and this industry and people, and it makes me stronger. But I've also run across a lot of people who think that they are the thing, the person, the man, the woman, whatever it is, and you can't tell them anything. And
yeah.
it's difficult to work with people like that. So you go back to your question, mindset, I think, is huge. And having the right mindset is very, very important to people being successful in business. It's not the drive, the determination, the winning attitude. That's all great. It's all great. Confidence, fantastic. I still think humility is a big key.
What
And
do
if
you?
you have humility and you're teachable, I think the world is
Yeah.
open to you with many opportunities.
What do you say to the middle manager that is surrounded by people who are not humble? They have this drive and this desire.
Yeah,
and maybe they work for somebody that doesn't realize that. I've encountered that. I know you've encountered that.
sure.
Like, what do you say to that individual, that gentleman, that lady who's trying to push and sees something great? How can you help them? Maybe give them some tools to bring that to the attention of the leader, or maybe do something different. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, bringing it to the attention of the leader is always a difficult thing,
Yeah.
right? There's intimidation. There's whether that person is approachable, not approachable, whether their ego will allow you to provide feedback, whether it's a safe space. Unfortunately, retaliation still exists in this world, and people don't like feedback. But if you're a middle manager in a position like that, it's a great opportunity to learn what you don't want to be, right? It's a great opportunity to look at that person or individual or team above you and go, when I finally get to that point, I'm not going to do that. And that's what you do, right? Every speaker you ever listen to, every manager you ever have, every leader that you've ever been in, with, or team, you're looking at all these individuals as to what you can learn and take away from it. We've all got our people that we look to and go, you know what, I want to be like that individual, or
Yeah.
I really respond well to that. I like how they've treated me, or whatever. And then you look at other people and you go, man, this guy, this woman, whatever, and I'll never be like that. Good. Write it down and put it down, put it in your memory and go, remember when you said you weren't going to be that person? And again, look at these as opportunities to grow. Who or what do I want to be? What type of leader, manager, owner, entrepreneur, do executive do I want to be? Is it like the people above me right now? Or do I see the dissension in the ranks? Do I see a team that begrudgingly goes to work and does the bare minimum because they're not inspired or motivated? How do I feel working under this person's leadership? At the same time, also look at yourself. Don't just look at the other person. Is it that you're not receptive to that person's style? Is it that you're not receptive to feedback yourself? Maybe you're not humble enough to take it. Um, and I think that that's also very key. It's very easy to point fingers, right,
Yeah.
and go, "You were this and you were that," but maybe we weren't all we're cracked up to be either. Maybe the people around us are looking at us going, "You're a nutcase," or whatever the case is yourself. And I think that goes back to the mindset of start with yourself. What can I learn? What can I do better? What can I take from this? And eventually look at who you want to be and work your way there.
Yeah. It really seems to set itself up for putting emphasis on self awareness, self audits, understanding the situation, and are you doing what you maybe not what you love. Sometimes you grow into love things, but it's just an
Sure.
awareness of, um, am I learning these things? And I think that's a huge unlock for a lot of people who are aspiring. Are you constantly learning? And I'm curious, how does one, maybe someone's listening to this saying, oh shoot, yeah, you know, Bob or Jane's really a jerk, but I love what I do. What's the action step for them to start? Because maybe they're in a hardened heart stage right now, but they really love the work and the client. But I've been in those situations. You drive
Yeah.
up in the parking lot, you see the boss's car, and
You
your
take that
heart
big
sinks.
sigh, you're like,
Yeah. But you know this to be true. You think about the people you're going to help, or you have an appointment with uh, a, this person or that person, and you know there's a connection. So you know you love it. What do you tell that person of uh, of that mindset to start moving in a direction that can,
yeah.
they're going to move in a positive direction and not be so hardened.
Remember why you started, right? And we don't always know what other people are going through
Yeah.
either. You know, you talk about cancer, right? You don't know whether that boss or supervisor or manager or owner, executive, you don't know what their family life is like. You don't know what their health is like. You don't really know a lot of times surrounding factors that have made them who they are today, what influences they had. So always try and be understanding. But at the same time, again, look for opportunities to change their day. Look for opportunities to show your skills. But don't ever forget why you started in the first place. And I think when you lose focus of that, if you really are a people person, say you're a fitness professional, you love changing lives, remember that when the days get tough, when the hours get long, when you got to make quotas and there's sales involved, and you didn't really think about that when you got into be. Remember why you started. Like I hear it all the time. Oh, I love people. I got into this business for people. And then a couple years later, they're in the business and go, I hate people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, why? You forgot why you started because all the other outside influences have taken or made an impact on you. And so when you're sitting in the car and you're having those moments, you take your deep breath, remember why you started, and remember you don't know everything about other people's situations either. And so a lot of kindness can go a long way.
Yeah. What's interesting, you led me down a road of a flashback. I had just got laid off from a job. This is back in 2010 ish, 2009. And I went, had to start traveling and consulting. Thankfully, I had that under my belt. But I had my second child, my daughter, was being born 3 weeks later. So I had to be on the road. So I missed the first 6 months of her life trying to hustle and
Mm,
all that. And I love what I did. I was almost in this cocoon. I was in this place that I knew I didn't like to have to face the fact that I got laid off. What are we going to do to pay rent
sure.
and pay bills and all that? But what I did, which you reminded me, I made a collage. I had just learned Photoshop. I made a collage of my kids and then of my
Mm,
wife, and then right in the middle, I put, "What story will you tell them?" And I put that on my desk. I printed it out, so it was always on my desk. And I
sure.
think you bring up a really great point. It's, we heard of these different coaches and mentors talking, whether it's a post-it or a vision board or things like that. I think always to get centered, right? I look at times, I look at pictures when I was in chemo. I look at, and man, I was scrolling through my LinkedIn the other day, and I think you've experienced this too. So many people that I've lost
Mm,
just in my LinkedIn account. This was day before yesterday, and so it brings perspective of, well, why are we here, right? This connection, and so I think that's a really great point, and I'm glad that you shared that. And I'm curious in terms of as we kind of go more towards how you're taking this next phase, which you've been doing for a while now.
mm.
Um, what is it that you're finding, in this new age with AI and remote and all this
Yeah.
type of stuff within the framework of empathy, within the framework of awareness, of servant leadership? Where's your discussion now with businesses, whatever vertical that you're interfacing with, kind of in this new tech world, mental health? What are you leading in? I know it's different for each business, but what patterns are you seeing about how you're helping businesses and some of the challenges that they're facing? Or are you seeing a certain pattern, or is it really varied?
Well, to your point, I mean, you're talking about how technology is changing the face of business in a nutshell. But here's what I say: we're talking about industry unveiled, right? Like that's the whole. We're talking about fitness industry specifically. You could talk about business in particular, but I say this all the time. In the fitness business, we're in the hospitality industry. We serve people. You'll never hear me change my stance on that. We serve people. If it wasn't for people, we don't have a business. We're there to help them lead a healthier life, get in shape, look better naked, whatever it is, right? That's what we're there for. We serve them. And the more technology tries to take people out of the process, the more I see businesses suffer. Let's automate this, let's automate that. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a place for automation in our business. There's a place to help us manage tasks and things much easier, and I love technology for that. What scares me is how much we're relying on technology to take the people out of a service business. Okay. You know, go back to McDonald's. Welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order? Would you like fries with that? Right. And now it's self-service kiosk.
Yeah.
Same thing, self-checkout out the, I don't even get paid or benefits or employee discount for checking myself out at Walmart or the store or whatever, right? But you're missing that human interaction. Did you find everything you need today? Is there anything else you'd like? Right? There's opportunities. I also think when you take people out of the process, you miss upsell opportunities. Just go online and cancel your membership. Well, yeah, that's convenient for the person, but that doesn't give me an opportunity to find, wow, I'm sorry to lose you. What did we do wrong? Where can we do better? How can we improve? Do I have an opportunity to save you and keep you there, get you engaged with a personal trainer? The more we use technology to remove people from the process, the more I feel we get away from serving people, which is our true calling and our true nature of our business. So I think everything is balanced. And I
Yeah.
think that that's what people have to look at right now, with all this AI. And it's great. Can it help your business? Sure, it can. But at what cost? And where do we draw the line? So for me, it's helping clients and people understand that there's a cost and a benefit to everything that we do. What works for Lyle's gym and people is not going to work for Jared's or Mary's or Sue's or Bob's, and everybody's a little bit different, and there's plenty of things out there. It's just what's going to fit your culture, your vision, your business the best, and at the same time serve your people. Not just the people that are your customers, but the people that work for you too, because that's really, really important.
Yeah. And what's interesting is because you talk about the variability just within our industry, and I'm sure other people that are listening in different industries, there's different nuances, whether it's regional, obviously price points, different products, and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But a common thread where you set up context for how you deliver service, in a service based business. From my opinion, in working with a lot of people nationally and you as well, internationally and nationally, I find that there is a lot of complacency in spending time with understanding what their core values are. It stops with a mission statement meeting, bring everyone to the conference center, get your ideas, you make your mission statement, your value statement, and then it's done. And that's just my experience. And I'm curious because I've spoken to many people, great leaders like yourself, and there's a consistent theme of understanding what you're about, however you want to say it, your values, your principles, but what you're about. And I'm curious from your experience because you've been really rooted in helping different businesses. How important is it to figure out who you are, what you're about, what you're trying to do, your culture, and do that before you spend all that money on your advertising? And I'm building a marketing agency, and I want them to not spend
Yep.
money and do that first, right? And there's another tension between that because they got to make sales, and I get it. So what's your viewpoint on the intensity, and I'll put it that way, the intensity and the urgency to really establish who they are so there is a framework for their people, about what the brand is? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's most people underrate it and how important that really is. Like, oh
100%.
yeah, oh my God, I need a mission statement, I need a vision statement, I need core value. Can I just open the door and people will come? Yeah. But what do you stand for? What how are you going to build your brand, and how are you going to train your employees, and what's your methodology, and at the end of the day when you're interviewing people, do they fit your core value? I can't tell you how many people they don't look at that, and ask them,
Why?
hey,
Why is
wow,
that?
here's our core values, right? And what do you think about these? Am I looking for somebody who fits that?
Yeah. Where,
You
where do you
know,
think it went? Where do you think it went away? Like, because you're
speed of
seeing it
business.
too. Like all
No,
of a
speed of
sudden,
business. No, it's uh, the entrepreneurial spirit is great. And I think, with a lot of online businesses and a lot of quick up, types of things where people can be in business for themselves really, really quickly, the lost art of really building a good set of core values and everybody following that philosophy. Look, there's a lot of companies that struggle with it. you have a lot of personalities. Some believe this, some believe that. You know, I know companies in our industry that do an amazing job of instilling those core values in their people and writing about it and talking about it and having their meetings and making sure that everybody's aligned. And those companies are very, very successful. I find other companies, like you said, they do it as an exercise and it's almost an exercise in futility. Okay, great, we got one, but you never see it again. You don't know anything about it. It's not brought up at staff meetings. You're not talking about it. You know, you're not making decisions based on it. See, when you have a set of core values and, you know, a mission statement, a vision statement, you always have something to go back to and go, hey, is this decision in line with our vision, our mission? Do the decisions we make, are they based upon our values of being X, Y, and Z? Does this person that I'm hiring show this? Can they do this? And I think people don't realize how important it. No, you don't need to spend hundreds and hundreds of hours on it and all, but you need it.
Yeah.
And it's the foundation of every successful business that, hey, this is who we are, this is what we stand for, and then you build your brand from there, because you can't build a brand unless you know who you are at the core. Who are you? What do you do? What are you going to serve? Who are you going to serve? If you don't know these things, what the heck are you doing in business?
Yeah. What's
You know,
interesting is, and I love what you're saying, because we started this conversation about your origin story, and we were sharing our stories of what's given us perspective and how our values have been developed. And I think I can think back to people that didn't go through the exercise, even just the exercise. And I can think of these individuals now who are great individuals with incredible values. And I've been finding, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, but I've been finding that there are many that more that do it wonderful and great vision, values, and principles. But there seems to be for some a disconnect between what happens in business and what happens in the real world, where we expect to operate from a core set of values, to operate from principles, which will help filter our decisions. Well, shouldn't a company be that way? It's almost right there. There's a humanistic kind of element that a company
absolutely.
takes, right? And I think to your point, you have to invest the time. And I'm curious for like, what are they missing by not doing that? Because I have a sense, I don't know what the exact percentage is, but I feel like they're missing a lot, not only in sales, but in impact in their community, because they don't know what they stand for. And you met with a lot of entrepreneurs and businesses.
Sure.
What are they leaving on the table, do you feel, by not investing that time in developing those really fundamental values?
Outside of revenue for a lot of them,
Yeah.
opportunity and satisfaction. And I say that because if you don't know who you are and you don't put a lot of time into that, you really don't see all of the opportunities that exist for your business to grow or for your organization to grow. And then satisfaction, the satisfaction of knowing that you've, you know, built and developed individuals who you now see grow in their careers and take those life lessons, or the satisfaction of your core value is giving back to the community and seeing that kid now have sports equipment, or you know, that park is built. I mean, you had a hand in that, whatever it is. And I think outside of revenue and generating money for your business, I think opportunity and satisfaction are two things that people overlook.
Yeah. And with that understanding, what are some things that, if someone's watching this, like, shoot, we just had a mission statement meeting yesterday, from your interactions with very high level businesses, big time revenue numbers, what can they do as an organization, starting at the top, because we know it starts there, to really go down that path, to really develop that type of feel for their business, that brand, that satisfaction? What would the next step be so it doesn't get pushed to the side
Keep
based on
it
what you see?
simple.
Yeah.
Keep it simple. I can't tell you how many conversations, weeks, months, years, you're talking the same topic over and over again. And it's like, guys, like go back to Jerry Maguire movies. Somebody said it to me the other day, right? It's like Jerry Maguire typed this thing up in one night, and here's
Yeah.
our vision. It's a vision statement, like
The
it's hilarious.
manifesto, right? Yeah.
Manifest whatever it
Yeah.
was, right? But at the core of it was he wanted to take care of people, less clients, more personal attention. So you build around, for companies who are struggling to figure it out, maybe they got too many cooks in the kitchen, or maybe they don't have enough. And you go around a room and you go, hey, what do you think? Everybody come to this meeting prepared. At the end of the day, who do you think we serve? What do you think we do? Right. And see what you get. And you start common denominator and you bang it out in a meeting with a whiteboard. And yeah, it might take a couple sessions, but if you're struggling for months and years and weeks and you're having the same conversation over, you got a major problem. You're overcomplicating this thing, very
Yeah.
overcomplicating it.
Yeah.
I've seen mission statements are so long. It's like, what am I read? The scrolls of, the Dead Sea Scrolls or something? Like, come on, man. Like, to keep it simple. And I think people lose sight of that. A lot of times you get people, they call them talking heads, right? And they outsmart themselves, and then they dissect every word, and they do. And next thing you know, everybody's frustrated because you can't get anything done. And, there's differing opinions. And come on, keep it simple. What do we do? Who do we serve? What do we want to be known for? And how do we want to get there? What qualities and values are integral for us to be known as a business? When people look at my logo and people see me, what do they think of when they do business with us? Are we honest? Are we whatever it is? And I think the less you overthink, the more you produce. And especially when it comes to mission statement and core values, it's at the end of the day, it's a lot simpler than people think it is,
Yeah.
as long as the right people are in the room doing it.
Yeah. You got to be on, right people on the bus, and then on the
Yeah.
right seat on the bus, right? Like the old saying goes. And I'm curious, with the time that we have left, somebody watching this, that okay, they went through the missions and they really have values, and
Yeah.
pulling on your expertise now and the pattern recognition that you've seen, and maybe giving the audience some action steps. Let's say they have developed this now.
Mhm.
From a mindset standpoint, what recommendation do you have in terms of, let's just say, planning your day to have that to execute at a high level? And maybe sales aren't where they need to be at, but from a mindset, what do you recommend to the entrepreneur, to the business owner, to start now? Here are the things that Jarrod would recommend that you start incorporating in your day to start to build momentum.
Yeah. So number one, it's always about having a plan, right? When failing to prepare is preparing to fail. It's just what it is. And so, what are the top three things I need to get done tomorrow? Never leave your desk, never leave your day without planning out what you need to accomplish tomorrow. Right? Last thing you do, okay, I need to do X, Y, and Z tomorrow. In the gym business, I teach certain things, and as a manager, a leader, whatever it is, those three things. What do I have to get done tomorrow? And those are the most important things I focus in on. The second thing I do is I tell people to watch a couple movies and shows, and I'll tell you why. So there's a movie called The Martian. It had Matt Damon, I think, in it, right? And he gets stranded on Mars or wherever it was. And I tell people to watch that movie. And the reason why I tell people to watch that movie is because this guy, all hope is lost. By himself, nobody's coming to get him. He's in trouble. And a lot of times as an entrepreneur, that is your life. Or as a business person, a manager, you can barely make the next day. And in that movie, all he's focused on is the next little thing that he has to do to survive. And he figures out the next thing. And then once he does that, he figures out the next thing. He doesn't think about 30 things at once. He focuses on one. The other show is called Undercover Billionaire. And I
Yeah.
like the first season. Like, they take this guy, he's got tons of money, he's made a lot of money, and they drop him off with a beat up old truck and $100. And he's got 90 days to build $1 million valuation business. Okay, these are people that are used to having helicopters and Bugattis and a ton of people working for them, and they have nothing but their duffel bag of clothes, $100, a cell phone, and a truck, and they don't know anything about the town or city that they're in. I love that because it was the same thing. Okay, I got to go back to my basics. What do I need to do to survive today and get me to tomorrow?
Yeah.
And then what do I got to do tomorrow to get through the day and get to the next one? And over the course of that 90 days, you know, you'll notice it's developing relationships, it's being smart, it's focusing on the most important tasks at hand, taking advantage of opportunities that come their way. It might not be the most ideal one, but it gets it done and it gets you to where you want to go. So, yeah, I think it's really important. Make sure that you're scheduling your days and you're taking care and take care of yourself, which I'm guilty of. Like I let that slip for a while. Make sure you give yourself reflection time. Make sure you get yourself your workout. Make sure you dedicate your time to recharge. But focus on the most important things first. What are the top 3 things you need to do tomorrow? And then also taking it one day, one step at a time, if necessary, and not losing focus on those most important things. So watch The Martian, watch the first season of Undercover Billionaire, and let me know what you think.
That's awesome. And for not the entrepreneur, maybe the entrepreneur in spirit, it's just someone that's a trainer right now. Excuse me. Or someone that's a trainer
Yep.
and is seeing your career or another career and really aspiring. What do you say to them? All those things you said apply. But what
Yep.
do you say to that? You come into a club or a business and this employee has this ambition. What wise words as we start to close, what wise words do you have for that employee that has a dream and is ambitious, for them to make progress and reach their dreams?
Don't ever quit. It's the easiest thing to do. Um, this job, this business has taken me all around the world, and I mean, I started as a trainer when I was 17. And people say, "Oh, I'm just a trainer." No, you're not. You're a life changer. I mean, you do things that other people have no idea how to do. You make
Can I
people
interrupt you
walk.
on that one real quick?
Yeah,
I think you said something very key, and
good.
you
Let's
and I
record it,
share.
save it.
Yeah, you and I share
Okay. All right.
the Jarrodisms. You and I
Yeah,
share
exactly.
this. It's you're not just
That's right.
in in companies I've worked with and the ones that I've helped build. I actually ask people to not say when I ask what they do if I'm meeting them, and they say, "Oh, I'm just front desk. I'm just a
Hate
janitor."
it.
In that, I tell them, let's not say you're just. You are, and you're important.
That's right.
It maybe sounds cheesy, but it's real. And I just think that's so important. What you brought up, you are
I
not
agree.
just right.
I agree. You own it.
100%.
Take pride in it. If I'm going to be a maintenance man, a housekeeper, a janitor, make it sparkling clean. Take pride of
Yep.
ownership on it. Be the best at it. Be proud of what you do. I don't care what it is. I mean, I go in the gym now and I'm the consultant, right? Oh, here's this guy. I will plunge a toilet, clean a treadmill, work the desk, sell a member. It doesn't matter to me, but I don't ever want to hear someone say
Yeah.
I'm just front desk. Just front desk. You're first of all, let's not call it front desk. Let's elevate it and call it reception, right? Because you're in the hospitality business. Secondly, you're the first impression when somebody walks in. You are the most important person in the facility, period. I walk in, you're my first interaction. Guess what? You're the most important person
Yeah.
because I'm going to judge the rest of my experience based on how you treat me. I'm going to go to Facebook and
Yeah.
Google, oh, they were really rude or whatever it is, you know? Yeah, so I hate that. But back to your scenario about being a trainer, you change people's lives. You don't even know it. If you've ever had the experience as a fitness professional to help somebody through an injury or through a transformation or to achieve a goal of running a race or whatever it is, that you can't beat that feeling. You can't beat it. To know that you had a part in that and help that individual reach a goal that they may never have thought they were going to be able to do. But training has led me all over the world to meet amazing people and do great things. I mean, even think about the trainers now that make a living training all the Hollywood celebrities or professional athlete. Would they say that they're just a trainer?
Yeah.
No. And I think we got to stop looking at it like that. Are you a true fitness professional? Are you building your, your education and your arsenal of weapons, so to speak, in your trainer toolbox as far as knowledge and ability, to go out there and do great things and help a variety of people. And are you understanding what it's like to be entrepreneurial? Sales, customer service, retention, all those things. I mean, I look back at my career, I loved training,
Yeah.
but look where it got me. I got to be part of the executive team of one of the greatest brands in the world. I get to consult and help other people around the world. I've gotten to speak and meet thousands and thousands of people in hundreds and hundreds of gyms. And, I want to trade it for the world,
Yeah.
and I think everybody's got to look at it as, am I passionate about this? And if I am, you can take that passion and make a living out of it. That's what they say, right? They say you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah. You're not just, you are.
I can't stand
Just make t-shirts and sell those, Jarrod.
Yeah, not just. I
You
wonder if
are.
Nike will pick that up, right?
Yeah. Listen, man, I really appreciate your time. This has been great. I hope we can do this again.
Thank you for the opportunity, man. It was nice chatting, and
Yep.
hopefully, people who are out there listening get some tidbits, or my hope is that people who listen find at least one thing to take away.
Yep.
And maybe they're looking at me going, yeah, I'm listening to you going, I'm not going to do that. Well, that's your takeaway. So at least you got something from it, but
So yeah, let's let people know how can they get a hold of you with this next phase. Where are you at, socials and website, and how can they contact you to get your insights, maybe to get your eyes on their business? Are you only working with fitness? Do you work in other verticals as well?
Other verticals, there's some wellness and spa based stuff that I do as well. As far as speaking and coaching on leadership and those types of things, I'm open to all those types of opportunities. I've been being considered for some corporate events and stuff like that to speak on management, leadership, and opportunity, that kind of thing, which is great. That's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
But as far as getting in contact with me, healthclubdoctor.com. So the doctor is spelled out. So DOCTOR.
And I'll make sure to flash that when I put
great.
this video.
And so healthclubdoctor.com, Jarrod@healthclubdoctor.com for email. And you can certainly, easiest way to find me is on LinkedIn. Just look up Jarrod Saracco. Obviously, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, even though I don't I got to do a little better job there, but
you're doing. That's the key. You are doing.
Yeah, that's it. LinkedIn. Just you type in my name or Health Club Doctor, you'll find me pretty easily.
Well, I hope we get to do this again, my man. I had a really good time learning about you.
For sure, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and wish you much success too with the podcast.
Yeah, buddy. We'll talk soon. All right. Appreciate you.
All right. Thanks a lot.
See you, Jarrod.
Have a good day, man.
Yeah, you do.
Bye.